What's up, y'all? Good morning. This is our last day here in Tulum. It's been magical, man. So we're gonna make the most of today. But in the meantime, I want to cover a question. I think throughout the day I'm gonna cover some questions whenever I got a little bit of free time. Let's say the wife is, you know, showering or something. I don't know. I'm gonna try to lock in and answer some questions. So this is the first one that I got. I'm noticing I'm getting a newer audience just because of the content that I'm covering. So this one says, I'm super curious because you're so young for how successful you are, and considering you came up from nothing. At what age did you start barber school? So barber school, I was in college playing basketball, and I was way out of state, middle of nowhere, Winfield, Kansas. And it was culture shock for me, and I missed my girlfriend at the time, who's now my wife. So I wanted to come back home, and I knew I was going to have to sit out a year, but I was still going to play ball. It's just I knew I was going to have to sit out a year, and so I decided to go into barber school. I think I was 19 or 20 at that time when I enrolled into barber school. I think I was like 19 years old, and enrolled into barber school, and it took me 2 years to finish, like a year and a half, 2 years to finish barber school. I got out of barber school, I was 21, I think. And so the next question here is, what age were you when you bought your first home? So I finished barber school in 2010. My wife was pregnant with our first kid, and we was, poor as hell. Like, had no business having kids, none. Like, I think between the both of us, we were making together like $2,500 a month to combined income. It was awful. Working 2 minimum wage jobs. She was working a part-time minimum wage job, just trying to survive. We had no business trying to have a kid. But anyways, I say that to say, graduated barber school, and I locked in, bro. And it was interesting because after the first year of barber school, after the first year of being a barber, I was learning what it's like what taxes were, because, when you have a job and you grew up around people who only had jobs and literally made no money, so everyone got tax returns, you don't know what it's like to manage taxes when you're self-employed and you're a barber. So that was something that was really hard for me to learn, because not only was my credit score jacked, and I didn't know that I had people in my family that were using my social security number, so my credit score was jacked before I even knew what a damn credit score was, unfortunately. But anyways, after that first year, I wanted to get a house because I was reading Rich Dad Poor Dad, The Millionaire Next Door, all the personal development books, of trying to build wealth and stuff. And it told me, you got to invest in real estate. Even if you house hack, even if you live in the property, fix it while you're living there, move out, rent it out, rinse and repeat. Even if you just do that. And that was the plan. And so I tried to go get a house, and I realized real quick, man, ain't no way in hell you can buy a house. Number one, you got no proof of income. You don't do your taxes. You don't separate your business and your personal expenses. You're a mess, bro. You're never getting a loan if you keep this up. So I had to learn the hard way to fix my stuff. And I think I was 22 or 23 years old when I bought my first, right? Was it, you were 22, I was 23, right? When we bought our first house?
We had a large, yeah.
Yeah. So I was 23 when I bought my first house. This was 2012. It was middle of a damn recession. The house was $89,000. And at that time, I was trying to buy a house for under $100K, and I was giving advice, don't get into debt, buy the cheapest house you could. If I could do it all over again, I would have bought the most expensive house I could have afforded, because that was the bottom of the market, man. But you can't really invest like that. You can never time the market. But nonetheless, even today, I would try to buy what I can afford if I'm going to be in it long term. Afford, not what I'm approved for, what I can afford. So long story to that answer. I bought my first home when I was 22 or 23, something like that. At what age did you open a barbershop? So when I was able to finally buy a home, I had been saving anyways because I had planned on opening a barbershop. And because we didn't make that much money and the house I was trying to get approved for was $89,000, I didn't have to show a lot of proof of income. So between me and my wife, we didn't have a lot of income to prove, but we were approved for a house because houses were so cheap back then. So we got lucky. The timing was amazing. And so, that kind of goes into how I opened my first barbershop. We had gotten a nice tax return. I think it was like $8,000, $7,500, $8,000 at the time. And I had already been saving money. And we used a FHA to buy that house. So we only had to come out of pocket like maybe $15,000 to buy that first home. And so between what I had saved and then the tax returns, I had another $10,000 in my, saved. And so what I did was between me and two of my business partners, we each put in $10,000, and that's how I opened my first barbershop. Now, I wouldn't suggest anybody do that unless you know who you're partnering with, because it could have been ugly. Luckily, the people that I partnered with, it was a yin and yang relationship, man. They all brought their strengths. We all had vision of building a bigger pie. I wouldn't go into a business partnership for one location. We knew we were going to try to open as many locations as we could, and we eventually did. We opened up 7 locations in 5 years, and today we have 10, with 3 of them opening in the next year or so, 3 more. So we'll have 13 probably within another year. And the way that we open these shops is based on how much money you put in. So each of our partners could have majority ownership, or they can have less ownership. It's all broken down pretty evenly, but I make thank you very much. At this point in my life, I'm grateful that I did these partnerships and these deals with my business partners, because at this point in my life, if everything was to go crashing down, I do believe the barbershops are recession proof. It's a service-based business, and I don't think it's going to get replaced by AI or robotics anytime soon. At least for people who care about quality, the fades, the lines, more of a tailored haircut. It's hard for a robot to replace that. So I say that to say, the barbershops make great passive income. It's like real estate. And if all my other endeavors, came crashing down, I feel like I could rely on that, and that'll still pay all the bills. So I'm very, very grateful, that we built those. And if I wasn't spread thin, if I wasn't doing so many things, I'd probably focus, it's probably my favorite business, my favorite asset that I own are the barbershops. So the next question is, at what age did you start investing outside of barbering? So I guess I didn't say what age I opened my first shop. I was 23. So same year that pretty much within the same calendar year, I bought my first house and I opened my first shop. So 22 for the house, probably 23 for the shop. And we were broke, but we made it happen. We figured it out. I was living, me, my wife, and Elijah, right? Elijah was born already? Was he? Yeah, he was born. Mm-hmm. Yeah, he was a baby. So that's one part that I skipped. Yeah. So we moved in with my sister, and we were splitting. I think the rent was, what was it? Nothing. $400. It was like $400 that we were paying. So we were able to save a lot of money. That's how we were saving the money. We moved in, sacrificed for a year to be able to save as much money as we could, because we knew we wanted to buy a house and we wanted to do the shop, and that was the way that I was going to be able to make it happen. So it wasn't ideal. Like, it was a small house and you had 2 families living in there, because my sister had 2 kids and a husband, and then we had our family. So you had 2 families.
Ray.
Yeah, Ray. Shout out to my dog Ray. Those who know Ray. He's a celebrity in our community. But I didn't want to. I thought that was important not to skip on that. That's how we did so much by the time we were 23, 22, and starting from negative, bro. We did what I don't think a lot of people would be willing to do, man. A lot of people wouldn't be willing to just drop everything and repurpose their whole existence, not repurpose, but move in and just start from scratch, knowing, this is the sacrifice we're willing to make for the long term. And if y'all don't know, we eating breakfast right now. Let me get a sip of this drink real quick. Start the last day of the vacation off right. Okay, so the next question is, when did I start investing outside of barbering? So I think the real estate, that first property was my first investment outside of barbering. It's real estate. And, we ended up, after living in it for a year. Was it a year we lived in it?
Where?
Was it a year? It was 2 years.
Where?
In the first house we bought. Was it 2 years?
I went from here?
Yeah. We lived in it for like 2 years. And Justine's family got really sick. Her mom got sick. Her dad got sick. And what we decided to do, because the house was so far, we decided to move out of it, move in with her parents, stack bread during that time, but also help them out with the bills and stuff, and help them out with, just everything. Like her mother, unfortunately, needed a caretaker, needed help. And so, it just made sense for us to move in with them and figure that out. So it wasn't, again, ideal, but you gotta do what you gotta do, man. It's a I don't know, maybe it's a Latino thing, but we look out for one another as a family, as a big family. So, that property ended up becoming our first rental property. And it was the worst experience ever. The worst experience for a first-time landlord ever, because our tenants, they were abusive. They tore that house apart. I ended up having to spend like $15,000 to fix the house out because they had stab marks. And we were so nice to the people. They were behind on rent every single damn month from the time they moved in. And they lived in there for a year and a half, and we had to ask them to leave because they stopped paying rent. And I actually told them I would give them their security deposit back and I would pay for their moving truck to get them the hell out, just to get them out. And they finally got out. And man, when I saw this house, they were letting their kids color all over the walls, all over the blinds. It was disgusting. So, but we made like
roaches,
thousands of roaches, thousands.
I'll never forget it.
Thousands of roaches. Like, I can't even exaggerate the thousands of roaches that were in there. These people lived with thousands of roaches. You open up the cabinets and stuff, all you saw was dead roaches everywhere. It was insane. It was disgusting.
Oh, that's because we bombed the house.
And this was a beautiful house now.
Yeah.
This was a beautiful house. This was not a shitty house. This was a very nice house. 2,000 square feet, 4 bedrooms, 2 baths. Nice house.
2 living rooms.
2 living rooms, a formal island kitchen. Man, it was nice. They destroyed it. For us at the time, and for the price that we paid, it was a steal. So anyways, we did make profit like $600 a month from that house.
When they paid.
When they did pay. And we ended up profitable, but honestly, once we had to fix the house up, all our profits were wiped away. So we actually lost money renting that house. But what we ended up doing is selling the house, because if you live in it for 2 years, you can sell the house and all of the capital gains is tax-free. So we sold the house and we actually profited after it was all said and done. The rental income minus all the repairs we had to do. Then we sold it minus closing costs, all those things. We ended up taking home another $60,000. And that $60,000 we used towards investing in more barbershops and our product line called Tomb 45, which is probably our best investment ever. Aside from that, man, I was in and out of stocks and in and out of Bitcoin and crypto. Guys, me and my business partner at the time, we actually discussed putting $30,000 into Bitcoin or Tesla instead of a barbershop in 2013, I think it was. 2012, 2013.
You know what's crazy?
What would $30,000? You know what $30,000 would be today?
But you know what I just thought about?
What?
That our first house that we bought. Remember, you were kind of like new in barbering stuff, right?
Yeah.
So you didn't have your taxes and shit together.
Yeah. So I just told him the whole story on that.
Mm-hmm.
It was rough.
So Mama had to come through and save us. And get the house.
Oh yeah, that's true. So we used her W-2 because she had that job or whatever, and it was just enough to cover the mortgage that we were trying to get. But I learned a hard lesson that time that I had to get my shit together. I had to get an accountant if I wanted to keep investing, because she had quit her job shortly after that. So we didn't have a W-2 to rely on anymore. Yeah, good point. Okay, so what I was saying is that 30K in Bitcoin back then would have been like insane amount of money, like $200 million or something like that. Something crazy. But we didn't do it. The investment still paid off. Still, 245 has made millions of dollars, and many millions if you look at the lifetime of how long the company's been around. And it's still a thriving company. It's doing, just as good as it did in its prime. Now that we've launched a new clipper and trimmer, it's been great. And so I don't regret that decision, but damn, that's one of those, that would have been FU money. So anyways, to this day, man, I like to invest in businesses that I own, that I can control. So we now own an enterprise of businesses. Throughout the years, we started some, we invested in some, we bought some, and we've continued to build our portfolio of assets. And I like assets that I can control. I like assets that are really great businesses. And what you find is, when you build a business that's a great business that people want to buy, at that point you don't really want to sell anymore, because it's a well-oiled machine, and it's got the culture that you love to be around, and it's filled with the team members that you want to work with, and it runs the way, if you do it right, it and you create a lifestyle business, then why would you want to get rid of it? What else are you gonna do? You can only golf so much. You can only I like traveling. We travel a good amount, but we travel a good amount. What we gonna do? Fish all day? What you gonna do when you retire? You have plans? You have a hobby you want to do when you retire? What's that you can't do now?
Just go shopping all day.
Okay.
Maybe I don't want to do. No, I don't know yet.
No, I feel like you like the stuff that you do already. Like
my job?
Yeah. I don't think that you don't have a freaking job, babe. Like, you literally can. How much hair do you do every week?
3 a day, and I work Tuesday, Thursday, Friday.
So you do 9 haircuts a week. Yeah, y'all see what I'm saying?
You trying to play me right now?
I'm not trying to play. I'm just saying that there's no problem. That's what I'm saying. There's no problems. So why would we sell things or think we need to retire in order to be happy? Like, we don't have any problems, really. God is good. I mean, obviously we have problems, but you get what I'm saying. They're not problems that we wouldn't have. They're problems we would have if we were retired or not, regardless. So you're always gonna have problems. So I started investing when I started my first business, when I bought my first house, which was 23. And even before that, I started investing, not in stocks and Bitcoin and stuff like that, but in myself. Because in order to have the conviction to go buy that house, to go open that barbershop, I was reading books like crazy. Personal development books, leadership books, investing books, business books, anything that I could do to grow as a man. I was reading it. So I was investing in myself heavily, addicted to information. And the last question here is, how fast can a guy realistically make all of this happen? Realistically. All right, so I think it just depends on what your goals are. If I can only speak for myself in that, again, I started in the negative. I didn't have any mentorship. I didn't have anyone that I could talk to teach me things. That's why I was so heavily reliant on books and podcasts and YouTube and classes and seminars and stuff like that. And then I met the right people that I knew I should listen to. And I knew I should listen to them because of the information, the books that I read. And that was people like Danny, my business partner who came into my life through a close friend of mine. Best man at my wedding, Perez, he introduced me to Danny, and Danny was a close friend of his. But when I met Danny, I knew he was different just from the books that I read, because they told me what different was like. And this guy didn't have normal 9 to 5. He didn't think like other people. and I was on that wave too, and so we connected right away on the business side, not necessarily on a personal level, but on the business side we definitely connected, and eventually we became close friends. That's my brother now, man. But we became friends because of business, not the other way around. And a lot of times people who do business because they're friends, that shit don't work out. So I just wanted to point that out. But anyways, if you're not starting off negative, and what I mean by negative, like I said, bro, we were poor as hell, had a kid on the way, no, you know, neither one of us knew anything about taxes, anything about credit scores. And when we did know, especially me, my credit was already jacked. My identity had been taken, used from family members, used for shit like Bright House, cable,
Good morning.
cell phone. Good morning. And so anyways, man, I just felt I was almost defeated because I felt like not only did I not know what I was doing, but I was starting from the negative. I didn't have a fair chance. I almost went to the military. I almost gave up, went to the military, and just figured that would be how my life would be saved, but my wife stopped me. But I made a video yesterday about what I would do if I was talking to my kid about how to start their life and reach success.
Thank you.
And I think if you follow that plan realistically, thank you very much. It's a 5 to 10 year journey. It's a 5 to 10 year journey. It took me 10 years to get to a place where we don't have to look at the prices anymore. Well, she don't look at the prices anymore. I still look at the prices.
Yes, I do. I shop at Ross.
Very rare. Oh yeah, you shop there, but you don't look at the prices.
Okay, but
And
Ross
then
and Marshalls is
and
already
then
a
and then
store.
hold on, and then you take that attitude to Nordstrom, and then you take that attitude.
No. Okay. Do you want me to put the Nordstrom bill? Because every transaction is you.
The what?
Nordstrom.
Yeah, I'm not saying that I don't shop at Nordstrom, but I look at the damn price tags. You don't look at the price tags. All right, so I retract my statement. I'm just saying that we definitely live a lifestyle where we're not as budget conscious as we used to be, because we swipe the credit card. We kind of have our lifestyle. We don't need more than we have. We don't live like a crazy lifestyle where we spend a decent amount of money, but we do it on experiences, right? It's not materialistic things, right? Yeah, we do a lot of eating out.
Actually.
That's really everything that we spend our money on. We do like to shop. I used to never spend money on clothes. Never had shoes. I think I bought my first pair of Jordans. I was an adult when I owned my first pair of retro Jordans. And this was maybe a few years ago, because I was always living way below our means, driving paid off vehicles, no debt, very low rent. We were always saving so that one day we could live like this, you know. And now if I want something, I buy it. We used to not spend money on holidays because we couldn't afford to, right? Like, we wouldn't buy each other gifts. Now we go all out on the holidays. So in order to get to this point, and then time freedom, we have a lot more time freedom than we've ever had before. You know, I'm not working 80-hour weeks no more. I got a really well balanced life, and I feel fulfilled, right? So if that's what you're looking for, I would say 5 to 10 years. 5 being, you found that thing early on and you commit to it, and everything just kind of flows, you're gonna get there in 5 years. There's nothing wrong with that. I'm not saying you're gonna be finished, but you might be in a position where you have the time freedom and all the things that I talked about. And I'm not saying you're gonna be filthy rich either, but you might be where a lot of people never reach an entire lifetime, right? Which is kind of the results that I was looking for. And then from there, everything compounds. And then you do start getting wealthy. You do start making ridiculous amounts of money. It doesn't typically happen because you're working your ass off at this level. At this level, it typically happens because you're consistent. You're consistent, and you're building teams, and you're mentoring people, and you're pouring from your cup into others so that they can grow. And as they're growing, the entire, rising tide raises all ships type of mentality. All right, so that's it. We're going to get back to our vacation. Wife is eating burrito. Nice burrito here. We got pancake and eggs here. And what we're doing today, we're going to the Tulum ruins and stuff.
You said we're gonna drive by them.
Just drive by them, right? Today we're just going with the flow, wherever Tulum takes us. And then we're going back home, get back to the grind. All right, y'all. That's all I got for y'all.